Well, hello there, Dippers, and welcome back to episode 114 of the Sauce on the Side podcast. As always, Dippers, I'm your host, Drake, joined by the man, the producer, Mr. Leighton Pip Shavantone.
California football, you had one job. You're the only team in the league can do anything. Just win the games, and you blew it. You blew it. Pac-12 season is over.
The Pac-12 season is absolutely
It might have been over before that, but now it's officially over.
Yeah, Leighton, see, what do you think about everybody who basically is like an analyst for anything, whether it be ESPN, Fox Sports? They like to talk about the narrative how Pac-12 eats itself alive. Have you heard that at all?
I did hear something. I didn't hear that exactly, but I heard somebody kind of talking about that last week 2 or 3 times, actually.
They used that back whenever Stanford was a good football team. They used it whenever Oregon was a good football team, and USC was a good football team. So all those 3 teams ended up beating each other in some facet.
Yeah.
You know, Oregon could beat USC, USC could beat Stanford, and then Stanford could beat Oregon.
Yep.
So they kind of did eat themselves alive. They're still running with that, even though every team is just mediocre.
Yeah, and I mean, so the right and wrong, I mean, every team, or at least the top 4 or 5 teams, who's all on close enough playing field, they call beat each other at the home field or whatever.
Even UCLA and Washington State.
But they're not good enough to actually compete. Now, we said about the SEC, when the SEC rolls out the LSU against Alabama, yes, that's called eating yourself alive. When Alabama plays LSU and Auburn, that's called eating yourself alive. Whenever Oregon plays Washington State, who are both in the top 20, that's just 2 top 20 teams playing.
Yes, eating yourself alive is not allowing Arizona State to beat Cal. It's not allowing UCLA, who's down 30 points, to come back against Washington State. The eating yourself alive narrative has to go out the window, and that's really the only conference that they talk about that in. That's just because you don't have any great teams. You just have a lot of mediocrity running around between 12 different football teams.
Yeah, and it's usually the late night shows that are based out on the West Coast. They get to watch all Pac-12 games, and there's a homerism to it where they think, man, these teams are better than what people don't get to see them. It's not fair to everybody else. No, it's not. It's 2019. We have way less games all the time. They're just not as good as the teams in the South.
You want to hear how good Pac-12 football is?
I feel like it's going to be very good, but...
Okay, Oregon. Are they definitively the best team in the Pac-12?
No.
You wouldn't say that they are the best team in the Pac-12? Who do you think is the best team in the Pac-12 right now?
I mean, I guess it's Oregon. But
By default.
Yeah, by default, but, like, they could lose to another team. Like, I don't... So, like, when you think of the Big 12, Oklahoma is definitely the best team in the Big 12.
Yes.
Not arguing against that. You have an argument against Oregon in the Pac-12.
Yes. Okay. So, but Oregon is, if you would think about it right now, Oregon is probably your number 1 team in the Pac-12, though. They lost to Auburn. Mm-hmm. Where Auburn is a pick'em against Florida this week. Mm-hmm. And we know that there's definitively 3 teams better than Auburn.
Yeah. Yes.
That's exactly where I'm
without
getting with
doubt,
this.
3 teams, possibly 4 teams better than Auburn in the SEC alone.
Yes, and they're a pick'em this week against Florida, who I know Florida's a top 10 team, but they're probably the 4th or 5th best team in the SEC.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Just because your conference has a lot of teams ranked doesn't mean conference is that good.
No, absolutely not. Means you have a lot of good teams.
4 teams make the playoffs.
Yes,
I bet Pac-12 will have none.
they will have 0. Spoiler alert right now. Pac-12, no matter what happens for the remainder of the season, they will have 0.
Have fun in the Rose Bowl.
Yes. That's just because they get the bid for the Rose Bowl automatically.
Automatically, yeah.
Automatically.
We're going to get one. Is that the Fiesta Bowl?
Them in Wisconsin.
Depends on whatever the bowl game for the playoff is this year.
Them in Wisconsin. Dippers, be sure to listen on Spotify and iTunes. Download, subscribe, give us that 5-star review. Follow on Twitter and Instagram at The Saucy Pod. Obviously, Leighton, we are going to have our Week 3 recap for the NFL. We're going to do something different with Week 4. Or we're going to have a Week 4 recap. We're going to do a Week 4 choose your narrative. So I'm going to kind of throw 2 things at you, and you kind of pick your narrative off of what we saw this last week. We will have to talk about the Week 5 college football games. There was actually quite a few good games. There was a scare amongst one of the best teams in the country. Give our Week 6 preview, and we will do our full MLB playoff preview. So we've got a lot of stuff to hit on. So let's start it off hot and heavy, the way we have been for the last 3 weeks. Latency. NFL Word Association Week 4 recap. Biggest winner.
The New Orleans Saints. 2-0 without Drew Brees.
Play-daction haters. People who think that Dak is not a product of Zeke. He came out Sunday, and there was a little nugget that they gave us on Sunday Night Football. 39% of Dak Prescott's passes this year have been out of play action. So, teams are obviously scared to death that Ezekiel Elliott is going to be running the ball. Dak Prescott ends up going out and having his worst game of the season this week, and this was a product because Zeke Elliott carried the ball 18 times for 35 yards, a very mediocre performance for Zeke Elliott. They were not scared of Zeke Elliott. What happened to Dak Prescott? 6 yards per attempt, no touchdowns, 1 interception. Biggest loser.
It's really funny that's what you just said. It might be lose Kellen Moore. Because, Jason Smith of the Cowboys offense, and Kellen Moore, been getting all the credit for the first 3 weeks, and Dak looked awesome. People have been asking how long it would take until NFL teams figure out what they're doing. Guess what, Kellen? Took 3 whole weeks. Took 3 weeks for the defense team to say, okay, you know what? Let's just shut down Amari Cooper. Let's put 7 guys in the box and play on every play and make Dak beat us. The Cowboys should have won that game last night. They had 2 bad turnovers, but regardless, Dak didn't look that great. The line didn't look that great. The play calling was shit because they just said, you know what? We're just going to stop Zeke. We're going to trust one play to shut down Amari Cooper, and Dak, you beat us. And it didn't happen.
Kellen Moore, 100% is the biggest loser this week. I agree. Took 3 weeks. And realistically, all Kellen Moore was doing was run the ball or make you think we're going to run the ball, then pass the ball. Biggest loser, Matt LaFleur, did the exact opposite of what Mike McCarthy does, and he gets murdered in the press for it. So a lot of people complained, oh, they're not letting Rodgers play his game. They're not letting Rodgers do what he does. Well, Matt LaFleur lets Rodgers do what he does 6 times in the red zone, or 6 times at the goal line. None of them work. Still gets murdered. Can't win. Surprise.
The Browns, from dumpster fire to flipping in the division overnight.
That's actually true.
Still dumpster fire.
Biggest surprise. Quarterbacks that have started 4 games and have 0 interceptions. Patrick Mahomes, Russell Wilson, and Marcus Mariota.
Huh.
Wow.
How about that?
He's actually
contract year. Stepping up.
Stepping up in his contract year. He's actually the only quarterback who does not have a turnover this year.
Really?
That started 4 games, yes.
Oh, okay.
Disappointment.
The Packers defense. How about if things go on a short week at home? Very.
Kyler Murray being elusive. Kyler Murray is the 3rd shortest quarterback that I could find in NFL history, and he's on pace to be sacked 80 times this season. Impact injury.
Mitch Trubisky. Will it be for the good, be for the bad, or will it even matter? Find out this Sunday at 9 a.m. Central Time.
Mitch, obviously. Chase Daniels. 10 seasons in the NFL, 4 career starts.
Tyler Smith also went down last night.
That was huge.
Don't know how bad the injury is, but if he's out, that's definitely not good.
No, that's like a death sentence to that Cowboys offense.
Did you see him walk off the field last night?
Dude, he is so huge.
He is a huge dude.
He is so
is huge.
It is unbelievable how big of a man he is. Like, I've seen the little snippets of them talking about that elbow brace that he wears and how it's actually like a knee brace.
Uh-huh.
And you really understand just why that has to be a knee brace whenever there's 2 trainers who are 3 feet shorter than him and just
400
so
pounds
tiny.
lighter. It seems like he could squish him with his fingertips.
Oh my goodness, dude. He is a massive human being. And the reason why he got hurt was because he's too good. Did you see him just completely annihilate that defensive end?
That defensive end all the way around the pocket.
Yes.
He was behind Dak Prescott by the time the play ended.
Yes, he got hurt because he's too good at football. He just had that guy, he sealed the pocket better than anybody else. Dak Prescott just didn't think he'd roll over his tackle's leg in that spot. WTF moment.
1st and goal on the 2-yard line. 1 play to go before halftime. Bridgewater motions Jared Cook out of the tight package into the slot. Puts up to him on a flat route. Incomplete pass.
That was terrible.
Another thing, dude. We'll bet that in a second, but NFL play calling really sucks.
Yes.
4 seconds left in the game. Michael Thomas, I'm going to go ahead and say, is top three in the NFL are adjusting to the football.
Probably number one.
Might be number one.
Like, how many times have you seen him catch a back shoulder ball?
All the time.
Every play.
Like, Bridgewater can't throw a ball to a spot. He can throw it to an area. And last night, the one back shoulder play of Michael Thomas, he threw the ball way behind Michael Thomas. Thomas just stopped and grabbed it.
Yes.
You put Thomas in the slot, you throw a quick slant. Nothing else right there. You do not throw it up to Jared Cook on a flat route.
Terrible play calling. WTF moment. It took Vontaze Burfict 4 games to get suspended. That's actually pretty good for Vontaze Burfict. Also, WTF moment. Did you see Bill O'Brien's trick play?
Yes, I did.
Where they threw it to
Hopkins,
DeAndre Hopkins, and then the first pass off of that was completely across the field. Like, I don't know who you think you have passing the ball there. 90% of NFL quarterbacks are not going to complete a pass completely across their body. That's why people always say, don't throw the ball across your body. The first thing he does is catch the ball. First guy, the only guy running on a route, was completely across DeAndre Hopkins' body. Bill O'Brien, offensive genius. He can make any quarterback look good. Overreaction.
Buccaneers figured it out.
49ers. Only team in the NFC undefeated. 3-0. Contenders.
They had a bye week this week, didn't they?
Yeah, they had a bye week. That was the biggest blessing for 49er fans ever.
That's convenient.
Absolutely. Terrible. And the bad thing is, I think 49er fans are actually buying into the fact that they're the only undefeated team in the NFC, even though they didn't play this week.
Did you know that 49ers, when the game they beat the Steelers, that was the first time a team trailed in turnovers by 3 or more and won since 2016?
Are you serious?
To 2000, how many times do you think a team has lost a turnover battle by 3 and won a game in 19 years?
How many games does Mason Rudolph quarterback the other team? I would say 5.
It's happened 6 times.
6 times. That is unbelievable.
Yeah.
Very unlikely. Mason Rudolph.
Very unlikely. And just for future reference, if you lose turnover battle by 2, there are, like, in history of the NFL, thousands more losses than wins. It's thousands more.
Thousands?
If you lose turnover battle by 2, I looked up last night, all numbers took me an hour, thousands more.
Wow.
Thousands.
That's absolutely insane.
See more thoughts for us?
Yes, I actually do. Sunday Night Football showed me something this week. Jason Witten looks like a bald Jason Garrett. And Jason Garrett looks like a worse hairlined Sean Lee. Jerry, I'm on to you. NFL Football Sunday. More flags than a presidential debate. What's the definition of insanity? Bill O'Brien. What's the definition of a sitting duck? Anyone in the Houston Texans offense that's behind the offensive line. If you don't believe Daniel Jones is a Manning brother, you haven't seen him in his pregame threads where he looks like a high school freshman attending his first homecoming. Bruce Arians, Sean McVay. Kid, pull up a chair and watch the wizard go to work. Jameis Winston, QB1. Death, taxes, and Jason Garrett scoring 10 points in his first big test of the season. Kirk Cousins, 2-0 against a team that is worse than 500. 0-2 versus teams with a 500 or better record. Dennis Green, they are who we thought they were. Matthew Stafford, did we really think there was any way that he wouldn't lose that game exactly how he did? Vontaze Burfict, Antonio Brown, walk into a bar. They get served 5 drinks between the two of them, and they're done for the year. Antonio Brown, stats for the 2019 season. 4 catches, 56 yards, 1 touchdown, 11 grievances filed. Green Bay Packers, insert Matt LaFleur, Aaron Rodgers, and a goal line. The Spider-Man pointing meme has never been so alive until this Thursday night. And there's a new book out this week. It's titled Trouble in Paradise, and it was co-written by Kirk Cousins and Adam Thielen. And those have been my thoughts. Did you see the post-game interview with Adam Thielen?
I heard it today.
He's kind of dogging on Kirk Cousins.
He did not like it. No,
yeah. He was basically saying I was open and he made the right read, but he just couldn't possibly get the ball to me.
Yep, and he's pretending like it doesn't matter how good the running back is, if he can't get it going, you got football at some point, you can't get it done.
You know what's absolutely hilarious about that is that for the past 3 years since Thielen's been good, all the wide receivers are divas, and everybody's like, oh, Adam Thielen, he's a different breed of wide receiver. Like, he's just not one of those selfish guys who will go out there and throw his quarterback under the bus. Give him time, man. Give him time.
Yeah.
You talk about he's going on to now 2 years being a Pro Bowl player. Guess what? He's not happy.
Yeah.
None of the wide receivers are happy because guess what? Your position is so dependent on another position that you will put people under the bus, back it over, and run them back over, no matter who you are, because you have to have the ball and the quarterback has to do the job for you.
It's also mind-blowing that Case Keenum ran that offense better than Kirk Cousins ever has.
It's unbelievable.
That's honestly insane that Case Keenum ran that offense almost to Super Bowl.
Is it bad that, like, whenever you're watching the Vikings and you think, like, okay, if Dalvin Cook gets stuffed on his first 3 runs, they're not going to do anything today?
Yeah, no, that's what it is. Like,
it's exactly what that offense has become.
Like, the entire team is like, generally speaking, in football, you know after 4 drives how a game's going to go. Normally,
Yes.
after 3 drives, but
no matter the score, too. You can watch one team and be like, okay, well, they at least have a prayer.
yeah, they have to go. But, like, when you, like, watching that big game yesterday, you knew from the second drive on, like, yep, Vikings are going to score maybe 10 points.
Yes. This is what you're going to get. And unfortunately, I think this is what they're going to get for the remainder of the season and the remainder of next season, too. All right, so let's go ahead and break down Week 4 just a little more from what we've already talked about. So we're going to do a little thing. It's called Pick Your Narrative. So what I'm going to say is I'm basically going to give you, like, the rundown of something that happened this week. And there's really one way or the other that you can break down this game or look at what had happened, either on one side of the fence or the other. So let's go ahead and get this started. So the Ravens have crashed back to reality and lost a game 40-25 against the Browns. Are you buying more into the narrative that the Browns may be turning things around or that the Ravens are just another football team?
See, here's what happened with the Ravens. The Ravens had one shot, and they let it slip.
Yes. Last week they had it.
Like, this was it. Like, 2 weeks ago, we're talking about the Ravens. Like, we came on the show 2 weeks ago and said that the division's over. There's no way Browns going to catch, and that was it. And since then, the Ravens played the Chiefs. Didn't look that great. Made a close game at the very end. And they looked awful at home against the Browns yesterday, who were complete total dumpster fight before that. I don't think the Browns are going to have turned it around, but I think the Ravens are to another team. Like, I think these two teams are closer to one another than we recently thought. I think they're both closer to mediocre than great.
Yes, I agree. I think both of these teams on the fence of greatness or bad, I think they sit right on the middle, and that's exactly where I sit on my take out of this game. Like, you look at the Ravens, so you remember the 158.3 passer rating that Lamar Jackson posted, highest you could possibly get. He follows it up with 104 passer rating. That was Week 1 and Week 2. Then we look at Week 3 and Week 4. Combined, his passer rating is 81.8, and last year his average was 84.5. And his completion percentage dipped back down below 60% over these last 2 weeks, and he's having to rush for over 50 yards a game. So he is the quarterback that we legitimately thought that he was. You wipe out the Week 1, Week 2, everybody looks good against the Dolphins, everybody looks good against the Cardinals. This guy is exactly who we thought he was, and he's not this MVP candidate that everybody made him out to be. And realistically, this Ravens team's only going to go about as far as what Lamar Jackson can carry them, which I think is about average.
Yeah.
And then if you look at the Browns, you have to realize that Nick Chubb is your best player. I mean, realistically, you put up 40 points this week, and OBJ went 2 catches for 20 yards. Quit trying to throw the ball over the field. Let Nick Chubb go to work. Over the last 2 years, whenever Nick Chubb has gotten double-digit carries and 100 yards, they are 4-0. In games where that was not the case, they are 5-10-1. So if you realize Nick Chubb is the focal point of your offense, Browns, you might be pretty good. Unfortunately, even after a big explosion of a game that he had this week, I don't think that's going to be the case. I think both of these teams are exactly average. So, wait and see. The Patriots survive a scare from the Bills. They only scored 1 offensive touchdown and got outgained by the Bills. This is a crazy stat. 223-415. The Bills, 3-1. Are they actually a threat to the AFC East throne, or are the Patriots just not as unstoppable as what we thought?
So, the Patriots' offense over the second half of Week 3 and yesterday have been very lackluster. Way more punts than scores, obviously. But the Bills are not a real threat because they're in the one division where the team that always wins that division always wins that game.
Yes.
If you win the AFC East, the Bills have to win that game at home against that team. And it's happened to play the team that always wins that game at home with the Patriots. So the Bills, while they might be close to the Patriots and they might have kind of 4 minutes to stop the Patriots from scoring a lot of points, they are not ready because they just can't win that game. And Josh Allen's not ready either.
No, and you know, I feel for Josh Allen in this spot. I really do. Because, throw everything out. 3rd down, 1 yard to go to take the lead against the Patriots. Is there any way a healthy Josh Allen does not convert on that sneak play?
Oh, no, he makes it.
No, he makes that play almost every single time. In fact, the only way the Bills scored against the Patriots a touchdown was Josh Allen going over the top and scoring that touchdown. And that's the play you have to make, like Leighton said, against that team in that game to win that division. I don't think that the Bills are going to be able to overthrow the Patriots. I think the Patriots, we kind of run into this spot where, like, we're now like 4 weeks into the season and this defense has like 10 interceptions and they played against absolutely terrible quarterbacks. Coming into this game, okay, what do you know the combined record of the first 3 games or the first 3 teams that the Patriots have played this season?
The record? Dolphins, no wins.
Steelers, Dolphins, and Jets.
Yeah, so they have like 3 wins.
They're
4 wins.
0-10.
Yeah.
The Jets haven't won.
Just had one game.
The Steelers haven't won, and the Dolphins haven't won. So realistically, this was the first real test that these teams had. And if you look at what the Bills played, the combined record of the teams that they played is 2-8, and those 2 wins came from the Giants with a different quarterback than what the Bills saw in Week 2. So you're looking at 2 teams who haven't played anybody who has won a game with the starting quarterback that they got to face. So I don't know if I'm ready to crown the Patriots just because they beat the Bills, who really haven't played anybody who's beaten a team, and the Patriots haven't played a team that have beaten a team. You kind of run into this weird spot where you can talk about how these, neither one of these teams have actually beaten a team with their starting quarterback. So I am not ready to crown the Patriots as like this unstoppable force, but I think the Bills have kind of narrowed that gap. But I don't think that the Bills are that good either. I think the Patriots are going to be good. The Patriots are going to be in the playoffs, just like they have been in years past. But the Bills are not ready to compete for that AFC East championship just yet. So wait and see. Jameis Winston picked up a huge win against the Rams and posted one of his best stat lines of his career. Over the last 2 weeks, Jameis, his stat line reads 760 yards, 7 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, 65% completion percentage. Jameis has been fixed by Byron Leftwich and Bruce Arians, or he's gotten a lucky stretch against bad defenses.
This is a tough one because Jameis Winston has always put up numbers. He is he's streaky as any quarterback ever. I'm not going to say he's been fixed yet. I'm just going to say he's not helped by bad defenses because he's facing okay defenses still, but he's definitely improving way better with Week 1 and 2, way better he has been before in his career.
Okay, over 2 games, do you know what the stat line of 760 yards, 7 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, 65% completion percentage just absolutely screams to me?
What?
Big Ben or Andrew Luck?
Yeah.
You throw the interceptions, you put up a ton of touchdowns, and by interceptions, you throw up 1 a game. You're going to get an interception a game. You put up a ton of yards, you put up a lot of points, you score a lot of touchdowns. Like, this is what Bruce Arians does for quarterbacks. Mm-hmm. I mean, we look over at Andrew Luck's career and Big Ben's career. I don't think either one of them, even though they went out and threw for 4,000 yards every single season and 25 to 40 touchdowns, like, those guys never went without turning the ball over. I really think that Bruce Arians and Byron Leftwich, who is basically a clone of Bruce Arians, I think this is what Jameis Winston has now become. I think they put their stamp on him. I think we're going to get more 350-yard performances out of Jameis Winston. We're going to get the 3 to 4 touchdowns a game. We're going to get an interception. I don't know if it's a dead set fix, but I think Jameis Winston is finally comfortable in this offense, and you can book the Bucks down to finish as a top 5 scoring offense this season. I think you can book it. So Kyle Allen has now won his first 3 NFL starts. With this week against the Texans, that was his third one. We know Cam Newton is 0-8 in his last 8 games. In fact, the only 3 games the Panthers have won in their last 11 is whenever Kyle Allen starts. Is Cam Newton's job in jeopardy, or are we looking at another lucky streak by Kyle Allen?
So, speaking about luck, this is about the luckiest thing that ever happened to the Panthers. Because Cam Newton got hurt with his shoulder, but then he had the foot issue that he'd be out for multiple weeks for. So now the Panthers say, okay, we can let Cam heal up for 5 or 6 weeks, get his shoulder ready to go, he'll come back, and then we'll know. I still think Cam is better than, what's the guy named, Kyle Allen.
Yes.
Definitely better than Kyle Allen is. A healthy Cam Newton is one of the best players in the NFL.
Yes.
He's one of the best quarterbacks of the decade, best of the generation. So no, I'm sure Cam Newton is still better, but if Cam Newton is not healthy, then yeah, Kyle Allen is 1,000% better for this offense.
Yeah, and a lot of people are wanting to point fingers at Ron Rivera and say, like, all this hanging is his fault, and that, like, his offense can't score and all this stuff. Guys, we're looking at a Kyle Allen. After his second career NFL start, or his third career NFL start, second this season, the guy has the 3rd highest passer rating in all of the NFL. And, you know, you look at it, he has 6 touchdowns, he has 1 rushing touchdown, he has 0 interceptions. Yes, he puts the ball in the dirt because he gets hit. I think that's more of the offensive line really just getting so used to Cam Newton being back there, just being able to throw people off, that Cam Newton is, or that Kyle Allen just isn't that kind of guy that Cam Newton is. I think the Panthers are going to run themselves into a weird spot because, yes, Cam Newton, 100% healthy, is better than Kyle Allen. I just don't know if Cam Newton's ever going to be healthy like he was whenever he won the MVP. I talked about how, you know, he's now 30 years old. He's ran the ball like he's a running back, 950 career rushing attempts. That's NFL running back type numbers. So he's going to age such as an NFL running back. I don't know if he's ever going to come back the same, but if Kyle Allen continues to win games, and he's in a winnable division, especially, you know, you have the Saints without Drew Brees. It hasn't been a problem yet without Drew Brees over the next few weeks. If Kyle Allen continues to pick up wins and sneaks this team into the playoffs, they are going to run themselves into one of the toughest decisions they've ever had as a franchise. Do you bring Cam Newton back as a starter, or is there a potential that you trade the guy? I don't know if they're going to be able to get themselves to trade him. I think it'd be more likely to trade Kyle Allen. I think Kyle Allen's a legitimately good quarterback, though.
He does look really good.
I think he is a good quarterback.
He won, yesterday's win was ugly, but he's winning the games. He's making the throws they have to do to win the games.
Yes, absolutely.
And we talk about how Kirk Cousins is a talented quarterback, but he can't make those throws. I'm feeling on his ass yesterday. Kyle making the throws.
Yeah. If you make the throws, your teams are probably going to win in the NFL. Another guy who picks up some nice ugly wins, Gardner Minshew.
This guy.
Led a game-winning field goal drive to pick up the win against the Broncos. And, you know, if Leonard Fournette gets one more yard on that 2-point conversion 2 weeks ago, we're talking about 2 game-winning drives in his 3 career starts. And then that doesn't even include the win against the Titans, which was, you know, their game from opening snap to the end of the game. Did the Jaguars waste $88 million on Nick Foles to be Gardner Minshew's backup?
Hell yeah, they did.
Absolutely.
I thought they wasted money on when they signed him. Because, look, Nick Foles is good, but that's what he is. He's good. Honestly, he might be more on just the side of he's an okay quarterback. What's the word you used to describe him a few years ago, Drake? They went Super Bowl?
Competent.
Competent. That's what he is.
He's competent.
Do you know who else is competent? A lot of people who don't make $88 million.
A lot of people who don't make NFL rosters are competent.
Like Nick Foles is yeah, he's okay. He's not going to take the team to the next level. He just got hot that 1 year in Philadelphia and won a Super Bowl with them.
Yeah.
And that was it.
I absolutely agree. And, Gardner Minshew, he's doing things that we never see rookie quarterbacks do. 3.5 games into this season, the guy has 0 delay of game penalties. 0.
Get there and hike it, man.
I mean, he gets up there and he knows what he's going to do with the ball. He's very definitive with his decision making, and he gets the job done. And you talk about guys who are very definitive in their decision making. Rarely are those people able to ad lib and do stuff like on the fly. Mm-hmm. We're talking about a guy who, in his 2-minute drive down the field to beat the Broncos, got the ball stripped. He picked the ball up, still completed a pass, and got hit again for a roughing the passer penalty. So the guy, had he not even picked that ball up and thrown it, you wouldn't have ever got the roughing the passer penalty, which advances you 10 yards with an automatic first down, and then you go down there and score. The guy is definitive with his decision making. He can ad lib at times. He has a 70% completion percentage, 7 touchdowns to 1 interceptions, and he can move. He moves in the pocket well. He was, I know he was the guy who broke the bubble for the Broncos and took the sack, but he still is averaging 20 rush yards a game. I think that they absolutely wasted money on Nick Foles. I know they didn't expect Gardner Minshew to be this good, but if you look at college film, Gardner Minshew was this guy at Washington State, very definitive, could ad-lib, and this is just basically his tape from Washington State just replayed in the NFL with a running back who can take him for 200 yards. Mm-hmm. So, I think it was a definite waste of money. So, latency, it is time for a staple of the show. It is darts. Each week we come in, we throw darts at a dartboard. Each number on the dartboard represents something else, and we discuss the topic at hand. Latency, what is our game today? We're
cool ways through the season. We'll go back to the contender or pretender.
Ooh, I like this. Okay. So the way that this will work, we throw a dart at the dartboard. Each number will have a different team located with them, and we will talk whether or not this team is a contender or pretender. Latency, your throw. And we have an 11.
11 is, and any of these I got to count out. The Green Bay Packers.
Okay.
Just blew it on Thursday Night Football.
Yes. And we rarely see home teams lose on Thursday Night Football.
We did very, very rare. I was talking about the defense earlier. Football traveling on a short week just absolutely tore them up. And went to the air just on the ground. But Packers were the team people picking to win the NFC North before the season started. I thought people were crazy. I still think they're crazy because I don't know. The Packers, to me, this year, they were 3-0 going through. They didn't have it. Like, none of the wins, to me, felt very convincing. Aaron Rodgers hasn't looked the same in this offense. It might be because he's still learning how Matt LaFleur wants to work it. LaFleur wants to get up there and snap the ball faster than Rodgers ever has before. Meaning Rodgers can't ad-lib. Eventually this season, those two might, gel, and that offense might be really fluid and great. But right now, it's just not. So I'm going to go with non-contender.
Yeah, I think I have to agree with you here, man. And you think about the Packers' wins so far this year. They beat a Bears team who looked absolutely atrocious on offense, threw the ball like 55 times. I'm looking to almost throw that game out the window. Then you move on to the Vikings game where they had actually completed a pass to score a touchdown that got called back for offensive pass interference. Otherwise, we're looking at a whole new ball game, and the Vikings potentially winning that game. And they played a close game with the Vikings, and it wasn't even a real... It seemed like a more contested game than what we've seen, like the Vikings whenever they played the Bears. Like you watch the Vikings play the Bears, it was an absolutely slaughterhouse. And then you watch the Vikings, they move the ball well against Green Bay. I am not dead set to say that this team's a contender. I think that, if we fast forward 3 weeks down the road and this team's still winning games like they are now, they're sitting at 6-1, I'll be ready to call them a contender. But right now with Matt LaFleur and what we saw on Thursday night and how the grumbling's already starting between him and Rodgers, I'm going to say that this team's a pretender as we sit today. So, next up, my throw. And we have a 4.
4 is Houston Texans.
Contender.
Oh, yeah, duh.
No, dude. This team, it's Bill O'Brien, dude. Like, you look at this team, top to bottom, they should... is their only win against the Jags?
I think so.
And it was whenever Leonard Fournette was 1 yard shy of scoring the 2-point conversion to win the game. Bill O'Brien's a bad coach. And until they get another coach there for the Texans, I love what they have. Their offensive line, I don't think is as bad as what what the product looks like in the stat box after the game. You look at what the Texans have been doing over the last few weeks. They don't want to run the ball. And if they do, they run the ball with Carlos Hyde instead of Duke Johnson. Yeah. Just last week, Carlos Hyde had 10 carries for like 59 yards, where you look at Duke Johnson, who had 5 carries for 56 yards. What are we doing? Mm-hmm. I honestly do not understand this offense. They have really no point. They're trying to roll out there with trick plays against the Panthers whenever Deshaun Watson should be lighting this team up. Get the ball to DeAndre Hopkins, throw more to him, quit throwing to Stills so much. It's not that hard to figure out. Anybody who's played Madden could learn this offense better than what Bill O'Brien has. I'm saying pretender until they get a new coach, and I don't care what happens for the remainder of the season. Bill O'Brien's not going to win big games.
Yeah, pretender. And back to the offense, so the offense is the vertical passing offense. How many? I just don't know. Every time you watch Deshaun Watson drop back to pass, it's never fast.
No.
Ever. Because they don't run short, quick routes. And even though the offensive line is worse than average, they just don't care. They're just going to let Deshaun Watson stand back there and get hit, or hope he can run around and find Kenny Stills or Hopkins or Atkins, whatever his name is, 20 yards down the field wide open, run around. You have to adjust, and Bill Bryant's not going to do that.
No. What offenses win in the NFL? Quick, short passing routes, and then you take the top off the defense ever so often. I don't know if any quarterback could succeed in this offense. It is absolutely pathetic. I'm going all day pretender. All right, latency, your second throw. And we have a 14.
A 14 is Kansas City Chiefs. This is a contender.
This is absolutely a contender.
This is a contending team right here. Because basically, the two things we talked about, the Packers and Texans issue they have on offense, basically, Chiefs have no problem with that. Because Andy Reid might be the best play designer in the NFL history. Because holy crap, they lost Tyreek Hill, they didn't lose a beat. They lost Damian Williams, Sean McCoy's hurt, it does not matter. They have Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes might be the best quarterback in history in the NFL.
Yes.
He really might be. And they have him, Andy Reid. They just get guys in space. It's poetry in motion is the Chiefs' offense.
Absolutely.
If their defense gets 3 stops a game, they're going to win the game. That's all it takes.
Yeah, and I think that this game last week pointed the needle in the right direction more for the Chiefs than any game they played this season, and it was their closest game. You have to ask yourself, what is this team going to look like if Patrick Mahomes does not bring his A game on a Sunday? Well, the defense had 2 stops in their own red zone, and they created opportunities where their offense could get back on the field and hold the Lions to no points once they get in the red zone. They strip-sacked Matthew Stafford, and whenever Kerryon Johnson reached for the pylon to score a touchdown, boom, stripped, ball goes 100 yards the other way, defense scores a touchdown. I think this is a very complete team. I don't think that the defense is as bad as what people try to make them out to be. Mm-hmm. I think the reason why they do allow more points than most is because their offense scores so fast, and then the other team's basically getting a fresh start. I absolutely love this Chiefs team. I think this is about as big as a contender as you can say through 4 weeks of the NFL. And my last throw. Hopefully it's one that we disagree on. And it's a 16.
16 is Los Angeles Rams.
Okay, now this one's interesting.
This.
I'm going to have to think about, I have to say that they're a contender just because of what they did last year. But I don't buy into this team like I did last year. You know what? I'm going to say this team right now is a pretender.
Really?
Right now, I'm going to say this team's a pretender. Until you're able to run Todd Gurley, until Todd Gurley's legs are falling off, I don't buy into this team. Mm-hmm. You look at what happened this last week. Jared Goff threw 3 interceptions against a Bucs defense that we have laughed about over the last few years, and he got strip sacked, and Ndamukong Suh took one to the house. You cannot lose games to the the Buccaneers that way like you did and me think that you are a contender. I think that the Rams are a very good team. I think that, what Sean McVay did last year, I think people are starting to kind of key in on it a little bit and, get a little bit of better grasp. Like, we saw what they looked like against the Browns, and that offense was not very, not as electric as what we were used to last year. And that offense is really what carried them in to this. I think that they're the second best team in their division. I think the Seahawks, I have more faith than them right now. I do not buy into Jared Goff whenever they do not have an established running game. And I know Todd Gurley was catching passes out of the backfield, doing his old Todd Gurley thing, but he's not getting the 40 carries. He's not being able to make people respect the run. I mean, if he's catching passes out of the backfield, I think that's almost a waste of using Todd Gurley. I'd rather soften up the front of the defense. I'm not buying into the Rams this year. So far.
So I'm going to put them in the contender card, and for me, they're locked in there until they just look awful. Yeah, they lost to the Buccaneers at home yesterday. They had a bad game. Jared Goff threw 517 yards, touchdown, 3 picks. You're not going to have many games where a quarterback threw 517 yards and lose the game. Last year, the best game of the entire season was that Rams-Chiefs game where Jared Goff outdoored Patrick Mahomes at home, and for that one game, he got that humongous giant contract. This team is still that good of a team. They've had a hiccup yesterday. They've been iffy this whole season. I think what happened right now is they're still trying to figure out how to win games where Todd Gurley doesn't get the ball 25 times. And they're 3-1.
If they figure that out, by all means, I'm back all in.
Yeah, and they're 3-1. Right now, if they were 2-2 or 1-3, I don't have them in there right now. But they're 3-1. They had a hiccup yesterday. They should win that game yesterday. Defense just didn't stand up at all against Tampa Bay. But until this team really falls off a cliff in a bad way, like yesterday, they lost that game 45-14. They're out. But they lost the game 52-45, whatever the score was.
I think it was 55-4.
55-4, yeah. They still put up 40 points. Bad for the defense. Goff had a good day to 3 picks. This team will be okay. McVay's game tonight. Contender 100%.
Okay. So, let's go ahead and talk about Week 5 of college football. So, we're going to kind of accumulate Week 4 and 5 to talk about Notre Dame. Over the last 2 weeks, they played Georgia within 1 touchdown and beat number 18, Virginia, who is one of the most trendy teams in college football this year, by 15. Yes, the spread was covered. What do you make of the last 2 weeks of Notre Dame?
So, I think Notre Dame team this year is a good football team. I don't think they're good. They were last year. I think the game against Georgia, I think Georgia beat the A game. Georgia didn't look like the third team in the country last week.
Yeah, no, Georgia did not look like Georgia in that game.
It didn't look that great this past week. Yeah, I don't know. Notre Dame's a good football team. Like, we sit here and talk about how bad they are against top teams, but that doesn't mean that they're a bad team. It just means that they're overrated.
Yes.
I still think they're overrated, but they are showing me that they can compete in big games, which is a good sign for them.
Yeah. Okay. Any given year of Notre Dame football, if I told you that they were playing a team that was ranked outside of the top 15, what would you think about Notre Dame's chances that week?
To probably win the game.
And I told you that Notre Dame was playing a top 10 team, what would you think about Notre Dame's chances that week?
30% chance to win.
They're probably going to lose.
Yeah.
Better chance to lose than win.
Yeah.
This is the Notre Dame team that we completely have gotten used to knowing. Mm-hmm. They play a team in Virginia, ranked outside the top 15. Yeah, they're going to win that game. They play a team like Georgia, ranked in the top 5 of the country. They're going to lose that game. This Notre Dame team is the same Notre Dame team that they've rolled out over the last, basically, existence of Notre Dame outside of early on whenever they actually won national championships. Mm-hmm. I think they're just a scratch better.
Yeah.
I think they're a scratch better than years past. I think they can at least play with guys like Georgia, LSU. But Notre Dame, I feel like they're exactly who we think they are every single year. So, is there any way after the loss to Georgia can Notre Dame still make the college football playoff?
No, there's not a chance. And just because, show me the win to make up for that.
Yes.
Hey, just show me Notre Dame can win that. It won't matter because their schedule just isn't heavy enough to come back from the one loss. They played Michigan 2-3 weeks, but Michigan now ranks just inside the top 20 because they got housed by Ohio State. Ohio State. And it's just
If Michigan wins that game against Ohio State, they by all means have a chance to make it in.
Yeah, but just show me the win to get them back in, and it's not there.
No, I think that this team's probably going to lose at least one more game through the remainder of the season, even if they run the table like Leighton C. said. The schedule isn't bolstered up enough. I mean, yeah, they're going to get that win if they beat Michigan. They could possibly run into a Duke team who I think will be ranked by then. And then I think they have they have one more game against a ranked opponent. But they don't have...
But as of right now, they do not.
They do not?
It's Michigan.
Okay, I thought they had a Wake Forest lined up in there.
They do not play Wake Forest.
Okay, well, that's good news for them because Wake Forest might beat them. I don't think Notre Dame has the schedule. Especially with the loss to Georgia, especially the way Michigan lost, those were the two wins that they had to have, or at least come close to winning, and those teams basically run the table. I just don't think it's in the cards, especially without a conference championship. I don't think we've seen it yet where a team did not win a conference championship, had one loss, and got in without one of the other teams who won the conference championship and got in, like the SEC. So Clemson survives a huge scare from UNC. They failed on a 2-point conversion within a minute of the last horn of the game. What do you make about that Clemson game, and how worried should Clemson be since they look so untouchable, basically, since Trevor Lawrence took his first snap with Clemson?
So, basically, this is how I view Clemson going into this season. Probably you view it as well, not really sure. We knew the defense wasn't going to be as good as it was last year because they lost that front four, that front seven, that was just elite,
unstoppable.
Yes, best in college football last season. But I think what we both thought we'd be better at was they'd be better on offense, and Trevor Lawrence would just be astronomically somehow better than he was last year. And this season, he'd already thrown more picks than he threw last year. He looked off in every game this whole year, and I think part of it is they kind of lost the mojo a little bit because last year they went 15-0. After you do that, you kind of lose your edge.
Yes.
You kind of get in a place you think that you are the kings of the world, and then when you lose, Clelin Ferrell, you lose that defensive line, those 8 stars on defense, the offense might be good still, but you lose just with the presence that they bring to you. I think Clemson is a good team still. I don't know if they're the top 2 team in the country right now. Actually, right now I'm going to say they're probably the top 5 team in the country right now. Cause I think if they're okay putting Georgia, Ohio State, Oklahoma all ahead of them, but I think they will be okay because they're not going to lose the game.
Yeah, I'm going to run through the last few years. Every team has at least one scare within their conference every single year. Last year Syracuse, last year Clemson had the close scare against Syracuse. It was a one-score game, and Syracuse definitely should not have been on the same level as Clemson last year. Then you look at Alabama in 2017, they lost to Auburn. Clemson, 2016, they lost to Pitt. 2015 Alabama, they lost to Ole Miss, and then they also had a 19-14 game against University of Tennessee. 2014, you look at Ohio State, they had 2 one-score games within their own conference. You have to go all the way back to 2013, when that was Florida State, whenever a team didn't have some type of scare in their conference schedule. Conference games are always tougher than what they should be, no matter what the teams are, just because you kind of get to know those teams. This game should not have been that close, though. You look at Clemson from top to bottom, they should be dominant against a team like UNC. And like Leighton said, it seems like this team has lost their edge. It seems like Trevor Lawrence isn't playing as free as what he was last season whenever he knew, hey, if I make a mistake, I've got a defense that's going to get the ball back for me immediately. I think this team should be a little worried. I don't think they should just hit the panic button yet because, like I said, history tells us that they shouldn't all the way back to 2013. But I think this team should be a little worried. I hope that this close scare gets Clemson back in the right direction and brings back some of that edge that Leighton C. had just talked about a minute ago. So why in the world did College Game Day go to Lincoln, Nebraska to watch Ohio State beat Nebraska 48-7?
Because Scott Frost, man.
What in the world is that? Dude, I don't know if I've ever seen College Game Day at a game where the spread was 17.5 points. And in the other team, like, you knew they were going to cover that spread.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, like, look at the schedule, I guess. Before season started, Nebraska got to talk about because not in all lifetime, but it's still Nebraska is very good football. They're back in the 60s, 70s, way back when.
Oh, back in the 90s even, they were tough.
Yeah, way back when. And then the guys got Frost, a lot of excitement. Ohio State's going there.
I mean, this team lost to Colorado.
Like, I'm going to the list of games here. I guess the other option they could have picked would be Notre Dame, Washington,
Notre Dame, Virginia,
Washington, USC.
I don't understand this. Like, you took probably the most lopsided matchup you could have picked that, like, you could have put in a realm of chances to go to, and you travel to Lincoln, Nebraska to watch a 48-7 routing. Absolutely unexcusable. I mean, I understand that, Nebraska came in with this hype. Nebraska barely beat an Illinois team just a week ago. Nebraska ends up losing to Colorado. I just do not understand why you thought Ohio State, who is one of the hottest, maybe the hottest team in the country, was going to even make it a close game against Nebraska. Absolutely inexcusable. I don't understand it. Last bit of college football for week 4. So Jalen Hurts, this is his per game average. 426 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, 111 rushing yards, 1 rushing touchdown. Are you ready to declare Jalen Hurts as your Heisman winner?
Yep.
Me too.
So we look at Trevor Lawrence to play. He was the favorite. He didn't play that great. Tua's playing up to where he thought he would be at, but Jalen Hurts is just on another level than anybody else. And Lincoln Riley, you said like a month ago, might be the best offensive mind in college football history. He really might be.
Yeah,
like,
I think he is.
Like 3 years. Like this, what he put up is just insane. If he ever gets a defense, Oklahoma would be a fucking Mack truck. Everybody's ready to be destroyed.
Dude, if they had any type of defense, like if they
could stop all flag football team from scoring a point, man, they'd be fucking awesome.
They would be unstoppable. Like, this team would rout Alabama if they had Alabama's defense. Like, there is no doubt in my mind. So I'm gonna just give you some stats that just puts It puts the icing on the cake for how good Jalen Hurts has played this year. So, he is 19th in passing yards. That doesn't sound that great, but there is only one player in the top 28 that has fewer passes completed than what he has passes attempted.
Really?
So, he's 19th in passing yards.
I got it.
You have to go all the way down to number 28 to find a guy who has fewer passes completed than what Jalen Hurts has passes attempted, which is absolutely insane. His yards per attempt, there's only one player who has a yards per attempt higher than 11, and it's Joe Burrow with 12. Jalen Hurts is at 15 right now. He's absolutely unreal. He's 23rd in the country in rushing yards, and he has 47 rushing attempts.
He had 249 rating.
He has 47 rushing attempts, and he's number 23 in the rushing yards leaders in all of college football. He is number 1, and there is nobody in the top 37 as far as rushing yards that has fewer attempts than Jalen Hurts. Nobody, and he's 23rd. This is absolutely insane. The guy's having an all-time season for a running back. The guy's having an all-time season for a quarterback. You take out the rushing numbers, and he would win the Heisman alone on his passing.
Yeah.
But then you have the rushing to just top it all up. Like, this guy is playing at a whole new level. Lincoln Riley, go ahead and give him a crown. Give him a Lombardi trophy. The guy will win one someday. I mean, this is just absurd what they're doing.
In 2016, he got benched. He got benched for Tua. But 2016 or 17?
It was 2017.
It was 2017.
It was 2016 was whenever the national championship game that he got benched, and it was 2017 whenever Tua took over.
Yeah. So in 2016, he had 2,700 passing yards and 954 rushing yards. This season, he's already at 1,500 passing yards and 443 rushing yards, adding 9.4 yards per carry and 15.2 yards per completion.
Every time the guy has the ball in his hands, it's a first down.
Like Lincoln. Get that guy a raise.
Yes.
Okay, you know what's gonna happen? He's gonna go to the NFL and suck.
Yeah.
He's gonna go to the NFL and struggle. Okay, but Kellen Moore and Philly's gonna figure it out. Like shit, come back
They've got my number.
Back to college, then Michigan calls. Hey, we fired Jim.
Yeah. Well, I think that's too far of a time span to
right.
go back and take over Jim's spot. Maybe Jim's
Jim won't be
Jim's
there.
successor.
Yeah.
Maybe then you could go ahead and take over Jim's successor.
USC. No, he's going to USC.
Yeah, USC would love that. Oh, dude, Lincoln Riley's just so good.
USC was just hired Will Ferrell to be just to sell tickets for a few years to Lincoln Riley to come back to the college.
Defensive coordinator, man.
There
He
you
couldn't
go.
be much worse than what Oklahoma's rolling out there now.
That's right.
So a little college football weekend preview. We actually have 3 games amongst ranked opponents. One game is actually a matchup of 2 top 10 teams. So we have Iowa going to Michigan, number 14 versus number 19. Michigan is a 7-point favorite. Late and see who wins this game.
I'm going to go with Michigan. Michigan looks really good against Rutgers. Michigan, Wisconsin game, that's the game we knew they were going to lose. Like, we both said with 100% positivity they were going to lose the Wisconsin game. It's not their game to win. Last week, put 5-2 against Rutgers. Rutgers is all football team. But Iowa coming to the big house. I think this is the game Michigan will grind down and win. I think they cover a 7-point spread, but I think they cover this game with the victory.
Yeah, I don't think that they're going to cover this spread whatsoever. I think this is going to look a lot like that Army game where Michigan is on the ropes until the very last minute, and their players are just better than Iowa's players, so therefore they win. Michigan always wins whenever their team is physically better than the other team. They lose whenever that notch is raised just a little bit. So I'm all in on Michigan winning this game. It's going to be an absolutely ugly game, and thankfully it's in Michigan for them. Otherwise, I don't know if they would be able to pull this one out. We have number 7 Auburn going to number 10 Florida to play in the Swamp. Late and see. What's the pick?
I'm going to go with Auburn. Dan Mullen has Florida playing awesome. They're right there. Well, not right there, Georgia. They're right there behind Georgia in the SEC East. But, how many years in a row now had Auburn come out of the gates not super hot, and we've all doubted them, and next thing you know, a month later, we're like, man, they could actually beat Alabama.
Yeah, no.
Every year.
Every single year.
Every year. Auburn team's playing great. I think they're going to go into the Swamp and win a really good football game.
I think they're actually going to win this game by more than one score. You look at what Florida's done over the course of this season. They had a very uninspiring win against Miami, a super uninspiring win against Kentucky, a game that they probably should have lost and ended up coming back from like 19 down, or I think they outscored Kentucky 19 to nothing in the fourth quarter and had to have every single point to make it work. I know that there was the quarterback switch, which prompted the 19-point comeback. But I'm not sold on Florida. And I look at Auburn, and Auburn's just out of the gates like on fire. And they're playing really good football. They have multiple big wins. You look at the game against Oregon, they faced some adversity, was able to win with a freshman quarterback in his first start. They go up against Texas A&M and handle Texas A&M like we really haven't seen Texas A&M handled in the last since Jimbo Fisher's basically been there. I am all on board Auburn. I think you can lock Auburn in on this win. Lock them in. Next up, number 25 Michigan State at number 4 Ohio State. 17-point spread. Maybe game day will find their way there. Who do you like in this game?
This spread up to 20.5-point spread.
Wow.
Ohio State.
They're still going to cover.
They probably could have spread Ohio State.
Yeah, I think Ohio State absolutely dismantled.
They're just going to continue to get their name up there a little higher. Basically, Ohio State's one of those teams where they just have to not lose.
Yes, absolutely. All they have to do is win, and I think they're going to win this week. They've answered the bell every single week. I really think this team's probably covered the spread every single week. Like, they are just on fire. All right, so, latency. Lock bet of this week.
Iowa +7 at Michigan. I think Michigan, they're not bad. They play against Wisconsin. I think they'll play better this week, but Iowa is a really tough football team. And Michigan, like we said, they've been shaky.
Yes, and they have the chance to turn the ball over, and if you turn the ball over against Iowa, they're going to capitalize almost every single time. My lock bet of the week, it's kind of out there. It's a big spread. Utah State, they're +25 against LSU. I'm going to tell you why that spread will not be covered. Over the last 2 seasons, Utah State has lost a combined 3 games. All 3 coming against ranked opponents, and they have lost those games by a total of 18 points. This team can put up numbers. And unless LSU goes out there and drops a 50 burger on them, I don't think that this spread's going to get covered. I think this is a game that you can go ahead and lock it in, that this over is going to hit. I think the over is way too low for what it was. I think the last I looked, it was like 67.5. And the lowest point total that they put up in the last 2 years, Utah State, was 23 points, and they had a whole entire scoreless half against San Diego State this year. They were still able to win the game, but they only scored 23 points, and that's their lowest total. Jordan Love is a very good quarterback. I expect this to be a quarterback duel. Him, Joe Burrow. Jordan Love does have the chance that he does fumble the ball. He really likes to do that, especially in big moments. But I think they're going to keep it close. I don't know if they win this game, but I think this is going to be kind of an eye-opener where you're sitting at a bar somewhere watching a lot of games and you look over and you have a fourth quarter game with Utah and LSU where it's an absolute shootout. Both teams are nearing 40 points and Utah State's right on their tail. So, top 25 team on upset alert. Wait and see. What do you have for me?
I'm going to go with Cal going over Oregon. Oregon ranked 13 in the country. Cal is now unranked, losing last week. Probably at the beginning of the show, we can't definitively say that Oregon the best team in the Pac-12. Last week, you asked that question. You could make a strong argument that California is just as good, if not better, than Oregon. And I think this week, Oregon played a very close game with Cal, even though it is at Eugene.
Yeah, I do agree with that. Cal can stop people. That's like the only thing they have. They have Evan Weaver, who is basically a tackle monster. Anything that comes over the top of the middle of the field, the guy is just on him. He's probably going to lead the country in tackles this year. Cal is a very good football team. I am actually going to go with my team on upset alert. I'm putting LSU on upset alert. Utah State is not an offense that you can skim over and basically go out there and stop. Like, you can do that against a lot of bad football teams whenever you are LSU. I don't think that this is the case. LSU plays Florida next week. Do you think that they're grinding the game film of Utah State as hard as what they are Florida this week?
No, this is the game. This is the week of practice you just won't get anybody hooked. This is the week where you want everybody to be healthy as possible, win Utah game. You want to win by a lot of points, but you just take any victory you'll be fine with.
Yes, and I think this is the game that they're going to come out. They're not going to be as prepared as what they would be against Florida. Now, I think that this LSU team comes out and handles Florida and is able to handle business against them. But this week is this is the definition of a trap game, and I'm all on board with Utah State this week. And I don't know if they're going to win this game, but LSU has to bring it. Otherwise, Utah State can put up points with them, and we could be looking down the barrel of a fourth quarter where we have a one-score game where Utah State could potentially take the lead. So what game interests you the most this week that we might not have already talked about?
I have two, actually. The first one is Oklahoma State at Texas Tech. Oklahoma State is a 9.5 point favorite. Texas Tech hasn't been scoring that many points. And Oklahoma State, all they do is score points. So it kind of makes me wonder that 9.5 point spread is Oklahoma State's offense really that bad they can't blow out Texas Tech, or there's something else we don't know about, kind of like Oklahoma State and Texas 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And the other game is UCF at Cincinnati. UCF lost the first game ever 2 weeks ago. Came back with a huge win last week. The Cincinnati team is at Cincinnati. Cincinnati doesn't allow 300 yards per game of offense. Cincinnati is a good fucking stout defensive team.
Yes.
So you can put up some numbers. I wouldn't be shocked at all if they come out of the game with a victory.
I wouldn't be shocked at all. I think that they even have guys. This Cincinnati team has a guy at running back that's going to be taking snaps on Sundays. Like, they have a legitimately good running back. Mm-hmm. The defense is phenomenal. The quarterback play is above average. Like, Cincinnati is a very good football team. And if you want to keep the ball out of UCF's hands, all you have to do is turn it around and give it to your big dog and basically eat that clock alive. I do think that game is going to be very, very interesting. I really wish UCF was still, unbeaten up to this point, because that game honestly would turn a ton of heads. The game that interests me the most, honestly, and it's kind of out there, is Duke versus Pitt. So this is really Duke's biggest test outside of the game against Alabama. And Duke actually held their own with Alabama until things got ugly in the second half. They kept it within a score. I think it was a 2-score game going into halftime. Duke, I think, is a top 25 team. They're playing Pitt, who I know Pitt's 3-2, but if you look at their schedule, they've played one of the toughest schedules in the country. They played Penn State. They played UCF. They had another ranked opponent in there. So I think this is going to be a fun game to watch. I think it'll be very telling. I think Duke does win this game, and I think Duke might even give Pitt their biggest struggles of the season. Duke's coming off that win against Virginia Tech. I think this is the game that everybody kind of turns around and says, wow, Duke football's actually really good, and this is a year removed from Daniel Jones, who is basically like an 8-5 quarterback there. I think this is going to be kind of a head-scratcher to everybody. So wait and see. It is time for the shittiest take of the week. Each week we listen to a lot of sports talk radio, watch a lot of sports talk television, and we take the shittiest take of the week and we bring it to you. So what do you have?
I have 2 this week, and they're both about self-awareness. Number 1, Colin Cowherd, the Monday Morning Football Podcast. Everybody who gets on Baker Mayfield for talking about the media, if you didn't ask him about the media and you didn't talk about the media, he wouldn't do it. You are literally driving the narrative. You are saying you want stopped. It is an oxymoron here. You say you want to stop doing this, yet you won't shut up about it. So therefore, the reporters will ask him about it. He will answer the reporter's question, what he's supposed to do, and it's an endless cycle. If you want to stop talking about it, just let it go. Second one, Jonas Knox, who's last time on the radio. Jonas Knox, you know who that is?
I do not.
He is a Fox Sports radio host. Here are his times for his shows. These are all Pacific times, so it's West Coast. Mountain time at 1 hour, Central at 2, Eastern at 3. Friday, 11 p.m. to 3 a.m. Saturday, 1 to 5 p.m. And Sunday, 5 to 8 p.m.
You stayed up that late to listen to this guy?
Well, it was Sunday night, so I had me in my car.
Okay.
And 10 o'clock here. Anyway, though. Brady Quinn's doing this thing. He went to Brady Quinn on Sundays. So Brady Quinn's doing this thing where he plays dumb to show how Chase Daniel is just as good as Mitch is. And at the end, Jonas Knox just goes off and says, right there, then, Jimmy, get a round of applause. That's how you do Sunday Night Radio. If you think you're better than us, you can kiss our ass. Brady Quinn, immediate response to that was, that line right there, where you get all the negative tweets. Jonas Knox' response to that was, screw them. Just screw them all. Jonas, that stuff right there is why you host a radio show at 11 p.m. in California.
Yes.
And that right there is why you continue to have that slot until your contract is up. At which point, Fox probably not bring you back because they get somebody else to do it cheaper.
Yes, and somebody who actually likes his audience.
Yeah, and the audience is likable as a person.
Yes. Why would... Okay, so the reason why you are a host is to put out good content for people and let people listen to your show. And without the people, guess what?
You're irrelevant.
You have no job.
Yeah, and also, he might be the only person who works for Fox that is not verified on Twitter.
Oh, he's not verified. So that's why I didn't know Jonas Knox.
He hit 11,000 followers. Well, you probably don't know him because he talks 11 p.m. at night, 1 o'clock a.m. here.
We at 1 o'clock at night here,
that's why you know Jonas Knox is.
That's unbelievable. I absolutely love people like that. So my shittiest take, I think it's kind of a gimme. Anytime that there's any LeBron talk or anytime that the Cowboys are bad, you have to go back to the well. And my well is Skip Bayless. So this is a few different tweets. He was mad about the Cowboys' loss, obviously. I'm going to read you 2 tweets and then I'm going to give you some stats. All you need to know about Amari last night, sweetest route runner in the NFL, had 2 pass interference push-offs because he couldn't separate on a bad ankle. He had an MRI on Tuesday, no out-of-breaks burst. Follows that up. I'd love to see Marshawn Lattimore try to cover Amari when Amari is 100% healthy, with Michael Gallup going deep on the other side of the field. But last night, Marshawn Lattimore was, quote, star of the game. Last season, your man Amari Cooper took on this same Saints team with 100% clean bill of health. Last season, 8 catches, 76 yards, 1 fumble. That fumble caused by Marcus Lattimore, who had the recovery. And last year, Marcus Lattimore in that game set his season-high total mark. He had 10 tackles. He had 10 tackles in that game against against the guy that you said, would absolutely eat him alive, who only took him for 8 catches, 76 yards, no touchdowns. That's a pretty average stat line for a guy who you say could absolutely destroy him. Yesterday, he went 5 of 48, which really isn't much worse than the 8 of 76. And Lattimore had two batted balls. So, I mean, you look at the grand scheme of things, anytime a guy has 2 pass deflections, you write that up as a win. And you can't say that Amari Cooper would have eaten him up whenever last year he went 8 for 76 and had a fumble caused by Marcus Lattimore. So Marcus Lattimore now is 2-0 against Amari Cooper. And, hey, when a guy has your number, he has your number. And then he went on to talk about how great this Dallas Cowboys defense is, and talks about how they were able to stop Kamara and Thomas, the two hardest guys to stop in the NFL. And then he goes on to talk about how he likes his matchup with Michael Gallup, Amari Cooper, and Dak more than the offensive weapons that Dallas rolls out there. How can you talk about them stopping the best offensive weapons in the game, and then in like 3 tweets later talk about how you like your offensive weapons more? Do the Dallas Cowboys have just the greatest team ever, and they should just be able to wake up in the middle of the night and beat everybody? Because if they have offensive weapons that are better than the best offensive weapons in the NFL, they have the best offense. And if their defense is good enough to stop the second best offensive weapons in the NFL, you have the best defense. Skip, give it up, man. You got beat. And guess what? Amari Cooper, he might not be able to figure out Marcus Lattimore. Even if he is healthy in the playoffs, a healthy stat line of 8 of 76 and a fumble, which was recovered by the defense, that's not a winning formula for a wide receiver in the NFL. All right, so let's go ahead and head to some MLB playoffs. So we'll go ahead and start it off with the AL. We'll get through the divisional rounds, and then we'll head to the NL and talk about all the way through the divisional rounds. So, AL wildcard game, we have Rays at Athletics. Wait and see who will advance to play the Astros.
Tampa Bay Rays, they are just overall a better baseball team. I'm not sure what they're going to go with yet. They're going to go with an opener, or they're going to start Glasnow or Snell. But Kevin Cash surprisingly has been...
I think they're going Charlie Morton.
Are you going to Charlie Morton?
They're going Charlie Morton.
Going Charlie Morton. You know what? Kevin Cash has pulled literally every right string all season long. The Rays should not be in the playoffs. They lost all their pitching early this season, lost every battle almost. But Kevin Cash has got it all done.
Yes, this is a dangerous team. This is an absolutely dangerous team, and we're looking at a Charlie Morton who, this is going to be his 8th or 6th, this will be his 6th or 7th postseason start. Obviously he was the odd man out in the Astros rotation, which really is not a bad thing. Like, you can still be a great pitcher and be that. And like Leighton said, Cashner, he's pulled all the right strings so far, so this has to be the right move. I absolutely love the A's to win this game. And I wouldn't be surprised if Charlie Morton doesn't go out there and pitch a gem if Cashner has that much faith in his guy. So AL divisional round, we both have the Rays at playing the Astros. Astros obviously have home field advantage. Who do you like?
I'm gonna go with the Astros. Shit, dude. This might for a good Red Sox rule last year. This Astros team is better in almost every way.
Yes.
They're so good. 1 through 3, Verlander, Greinke, Cole, and Verlander were the only teammates to ever have a whip under 1, both the under strikeouts, both ERA under 3. Greinke might be the best third star in the history of baseball. Astros sweep.
Yeah. So I just said that Charlie Morton was the odd man out with the Astros.
Mm-hmm.
So the Rays have all the faith in the world in Charlie Morton. The Astros didn't feel comfortable sending him out there, and then they add Greinke. I think this is 3 up, 3 down, and the Astros will advance. I mean, they just don't have any answer. You cannot definitively say that there is one spot, relievers, starters, bats, fielding. There's not one spot that you can say that the Rays are better than the Astros.
No.
Divisional round. We have Twins versus the Yankees. Leighton C., what do you like?
I'm going Twins in 4.
Twins in 4.
Now we can hate the Yankees, even though that might help a little bit, but no. Here go the Yankees. In Game 2, they're going to start either Paxton or Tanaka. Those two guys had a problem all year allowing big runs early in the games. And right now, the lowest chances for the year. Their bullpen is hurt. If Twins can win Game 1 or 2, I'm not sure which Severino is going to start in this. Game 1 or 2, they will win the Paxton or Tanaka start in Minnesota. That means they're going Game 4 Minnesota, and they go on to the CS. I think that's likely to happen. I think this series has a ton of runs scored in it, but also I think the Twins will win in 4 games. I think every game will be very high scoring, and ultimately the Twins are going to put together and win the Game 4 at Minnesota.
I love absolutely everything you said. I think that the Twins do have a chance in this. I think a lot of people are already writing the Twins off just because it's the Yankees. But in what world does the Yankees beat the Twins in this spot? You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like, so many times before we've seen this. I want to say that the Twins are going to win this game. I think the Twins have a better bullpen. But we never see this happen. And if the Twins do win this game, I mean, rarely do you see the large market team with the bigger salary cap go up against a team like the Twins and lose. And that's really the only reason why I think the Yankees are going to win this game. Mm-hmm. The MLB has to do everything in their power in order for the Yankees to win this. But I'm saying that this series is going to be an absolute dogfight. I think this is going to be pitching optional. I think the Yankees will nudge them out, and it's probably going to take all 5 games in order to do so. But I will not be surprised at all if the Twins win. The Twins are such a good baseball team.
300 home runs, first time ever.
And they're the team that started off great, had a slump, and then they finished the way they started. So they've been through the fire. You know, where the Yankees team really hasn't faced adversity. They've just been a freight train the whole year. The Twins are going to be scary this year.
That's going to be really good. If you like watching baseball, you like seeing runs scored, that's going to be the series you want to watch this postseason.
Yeah.
There's no other combination of teams that are going to put up more runs against each other than these two would.
No, I absolutely agree. Next up, we switch to the NL. NL wildcard, we have Brewers at Nats. Who do you like?
Nationals.
Heads away.
So the Brewers' run differential was +3. For comparison, the Indians missed the playoffs. They was +113. The Brewers barely squeaked in. The Max Scherzer's not going to lose this game.
No, you look up the definition of a lock. This is it. I mean, everything points to the Nationals. The Nationals started off like a dumpster fire, and they've been the hottest team in baseball since about 40 games in. Mm-hmm. And they are they're a freight train with Max Scherzer on the mound. Lock it in. Nats win this game. So we both actually had the Nationals versus the Dodgers. Wait and see who wins.
I'm going to go Dodgers in 5. The Dodgers are a very good baseball team, but looking at the lineup, not a ton of bats going to scare you against the National pitching staff.
No.
The Dodgers bolstered the Dodgers team depends on Kershaw, Buehler, and Ryu. I do think those 3 guys will show up. Kershaw, he's always very iffy. Kershaw's postseason career is 1 inning. He'll be awesome throughout the game, but he'll have 1 bad inning. When's it going to come? 1st inning, 5th inning, 6th inning, 3rd inning, you don't know. But ultimately, I think the Dodgers will put together a win in 5.
See, I just cannot picture this series without just thinking that Cody Bellinger's going to disappear. Mm-hmm. Kershaw's going to have his 1 bad inning. And Kenley Jansen is going to have an inning that is going to change the whole entire landscape of this series. I don't trust anything about this Dodgers team. I think Cody Bellinger is a guy who got hot in the first 40 games, and since then has just been another guy. You look at this series, I think the best position player in the whole entire series goes to the Nationals with Rendon. Mm-hmm. I mean, the guy's been, I know he's probably not going to win the MVP over Bellinger, but after the first 40 games, he is heads and shoulders above Bellinger, and I think he's probably the most consistent guy on the field for either team. You look at 1, 2, 3 for the Nationals: Scherzer, Strasburg, and Corbin. I put them right up there with what the Dodgers are rolling out there. If not, I like them better, especially with the 3rd starter with Corbin. I have to say the Nationals are going to win this game just because the Nationals will be this bottle of consistency that rolls out there. You know that the starters are going to go out there and make it a dogfight. Even on their days where they don't have their best stuff, they figure out ways to do it. Where once the Dodgers, if they don't have their best stuff, we've seen it year after year after year after year where they implode. The Nationals, I don't think, is a team that will implode, especially being that team that no longer has Bryce Harper, who's an implosion waiting to happen. Mm-hmm. All right, next up, divisional round. Cardinals at Braves, or versus Braves. Braves obviously have home field advantage. Who do you like?
This is a tough one. I'm going to go with the Cardinals. The Cardinals, they've look, I don't think they're that great a baseball team, but the Braves have been dealing with some injuries. Acuna's been hurt late in the year. The starting pitching's been hurt early in the season. The Cardinals have been absolutely just on fire, pitching-wise, batting-wise. I just think it's one of those times where the Cardinals will ride that hot hand for a little bit longer and beat the Braves in the DS.
See, this is another toss-up. I think this one's just as close as the Twins-Yankees series. For different reasons, though. I do think that the Braves are going to win this just because the bottom of the Braves batting order looks like the top of the Cardinals batting order.
Yeah.
And, the Braves, they almost have too much firepower to lose this series. And if you look at the Cardinals, you have a guy like Andrew Miller. Do you trust him in the postseason coming out to even give you an inning? He could come out there and look like, Andrew Miller circa 2016, or he can come out and look like Andrew Miller, the guy that we saw Friday night against the Cubs, who gave up like 6 runs in an inning. So I don't know where the happy ground is with him. I don't know who they're going to lean to in the bullpen that they can say, go out there and get this game over for us. You even look at a guy like Carlos Martinez, who he's 50-50. Mm-hmm. He's either the best pitcher on your staff or he's out there making errors and just making it a sideshow. I think the Braves, just for the same reason that I like the Nationals, they're this bottle of consistency that will not implode at any time, and I have to say that the Braves will be that consistent. So, ALCS, Leighton, you have the Twins versus the Astros. Who do you like?
Astros in 5. The Twins will win Game 4 Minnesota, and then Astros close out the next night.
Yeah, this is...
I don't think I need to elaborate on why.
Yeah, I have the Astros and Yankees, and I think the Astros could potentially run the table in this postseason. Like, that's how good their team is. Obviously, it's baseball. That's not going to happen.
Yeah.
But their team is good enough, top to bottom, to do so. You have 3 guys who could potentially go out there and throw you 8 innings strong with 1 earned run. Mm-hmm. Like, on any given night.
1 earned hit, even, hell.
Yes, 1 hit. I'm all on board the Astros. I think they get this done. The Yankees will be lucky to win 2 games. NLCS, Leighton, you have the Dodgers versus the Cardinals. Who do you like?
This is it, Drake. This is where playing 10 November, 3 straight years, will finally catch up to the Dodgers. They're calling win the series. They're calling to go to the World Series. I mean, look, the Cardinals pitching staff, lights out. Past month and a half that's into the season. They had to take
Flaherty's been the best pitcher in baseball.
Yeah, he hit ERA below 1, I'm pretty sure, over the past month or 2. And the Cardinals, they're a little official team right now. The Dodgers, like I said, pitched in November 3 years in a row. And this should be able to finally catch up to all the arms in the bullpen, starting pitching. Here's a catch up to him.
Yeah, now I think the Cardinals could honestly make a run in this thing. I do. Is if they pitch Wainwright at home and they keep Flaherty for the big games and ride him like a running mule, I think they can make some noise. I do have the Nationals and Braves meeting up in my NLCS. And like I said before, I really think that Rendon is the best player in the National League in this postseason. And I think it's going to show. I think he's going to continue to put up big numbers in this postseason. He's going to help score runs when the Nationals need it. If you look at what these teams will put out there starting pitching wise, it's not even close.
Yeah.
You have Scherzer, you have Corbin, you have Strasburg, 1, 2, 3. I think the Nationals do win this series, which will be insane for such a bad start that they advance to the World Series. Latency, you have the Astros and Cardinals, a little NL Central rivalry. Who do you think wins that series?
So here's the thing about this series, Jake. The Astros, right? Best pitching staff possibly of all time. First time a team ever had the most strikeouts as a team and the fewest strikeouts as a team. I think second and third in home runs. But here's the thing though, the Cardinals, every star is a righty. Astros best hitters, they're all righties. And the splits, that's a real thing, the splits up. It's a real thing.
No, it is.
Cardinals are hot, Astros are hot. So you know all that into account, Astros in 5.
Astros in 5?
Yep.
I was about to say, do you really think the Cardinals could beat the Astros
No.
in a 7-game series?
If the Cardinals had a lefty in there, it'd be Astros in 4. But they don't. So Astros in 5.
Yeah, I have Nats, Astros, dude. Could you imagine those first 3 games to start off a World Series? You have Scherzer versus Verlander. You have Strasburg versus Cole. And then you have Corbin and Greinke. That would be insane for the first 3 games of a World Series. And I think that's what we're going to get. If all the pitching matchups line up, I think it could be interesting. I think the Diamondbacks will be losing sleep over this series, especially if the Cardinals make any noise. But yeah, I think that the Astros, they're a well-oiled machine. Like Leighton said, you can take. That's not even analytics. That's just bare bones baseball statistics. You don't strike out. You strike everybody else out. You win baseball games. I'm all on board for this Astros team to win their second World Series in the last 3 years, and I think they do it going away. One quick note about baseball before we switch gears and give our saucy six-pack. The MLB did something we've never seen before. 4 teams winning 100 baseball games. How'd that happen? First time ever.
Because MLB had 4 teams lose 100 games or more, and they had 7 teams lose 94 games or more.
Bad baseball teams.
Do you want to know how bad the Detroit Tigers were this year?
How bad?
So the Baltimore Orioles had a negative 252 run differential. They scored 792 runs, and they allowed 981, almost 1,000. The Tigers were minus 333. They allowed 915 runs, so 66 fewer than the Orioles, but they scored 582.
They scored 582 runs in a baseball season.
I'm pretty sure they're the only team this season who now have a 20 home run guy.
Wow.
Yes. Tigers fan base, Tigers GM, Tigers ownership. That GM's gonna get fired.
Has to.
Because this rebuild is gonna be a decade long. Cause they're paying Miguel Cabrera $32 million until 2023.
Holy smokes.
For a bad as Paulo Sandoval contract was, for a bad as Chris Sale contract could end up being, David Price contract could end up being, they're paying Miguel Cabrera longer than any of those guys.
No baseball player deserves to make that much money, especially whenever you look at the Brewers. They played their best baseball once Christian Yelich went to the IL. We look at a guy like Mike Trout, who's played in 1 playoff game in his whole entire career, who people are deeming the greatest of all time. Don't pay guys like that. Yeah. That's just absolutely stupid. That's crazy. But yeah, it's because we are now seeing teams tanking in baseball, which we hadn't before. So obviously teams are going to be better, and it brings in an environment where you have 4 teams that win 100 games, and then you have the Braves who they could have won 100 games, but they end up shutting it down a little early, and they ended up, I think, won 97. So we almost saw 5. That is absolutely insane. All right, switching gears here back to football. Saucy 6-pack of games, Thursday night football. This is one I think everybody will be looking forward to. Rams at Seahawks. Leighton C, what's the pick?
I'm going to Seahawks. I do, like we talked about earlier, I do think the Rams are still a different contender team. I think they'll be a very good team in the season, but right now the Seahawks are playing better. Plus, short week at Seattle, one of the hardest places to play in all football, so Seahawks.
Yeah, I agree. I think the Seahawks win this game. I think the Seahawks win this division. This is a team I was on early. I absolutely love the makeup of this team. They're going to run the ball a lot. Russell Wilson will make throws whenever he absolutely needs to, and they're just going to win games like they normally do. It's tough to figure out what happened with your defense in 4 days. I don't think they're going to get that figured out with the Rams. Next up, surprisingly good matchup of 2 backup quarterbacks. We have the Jags at the Panthers. Leighton C, who do you like?
I'm going to go with the Panthers. Jaguars, they're going to win a game. The defense stops you left net runs. The Panthers defense this year has actually been really, really good, especially in the past. I think they have 6 or more sacks back-to-back weeks now. I think they get after going on Minshew. I can't see Leonard Fournette have another 200-yard game back-to-back weeks. It's at Carolina, give them the edge. Panthers.
I'm gonna go with the Jags just because you look at the Jaguars defense. They can create pressure on the quarterback, which unfortunately I think he's fumbled 5 times. Kyle Allen fumbled 5 times in the last 2 weeks, which is going to create havoc. I think the Jaguars are going to get after him, cause a couple turnovers, which will be the difference in the game. You look at a guy like Christian McCaffrey, he's going to be offset by Myles Jack, who's one of the fastest linebackers in the NFL. They've actually considered running him at running back like he did at UCLA. I think this is going to be a fun game, though. I do think the Jags ended up winning. Next up, we have Bucks at Saints. Surprisingly good matchup here. Who do you like?
This one back and forth on a whole lot. It basically comes down to can the Saints stop the Buccaneers scoring, because the Saints aren't going to score 30 points in the game.
No.
Let's beat this out. It's not going to happen. So I'm going to go with the Buccaneers. After saying I think it'd be a high-scoring game, but I do think Buccaneers are winning, and we'd be shocked they win by more than 10 points.
Yeah, I actually like the Buccaneers here, too. I think this is going to be a the game where the Teddy Bridgewater bubble finally bursts. It's just so they can only tread water for so long, scoring 13 points and getting, punt return for a touchdown, interception return for a touchdown. Obviously Jameis Winston will have his one turnover like we talk about in the Bruce Arians offense. But I think the Bucs are going to do enough to win this game. They're going to ride the hot hand. They're going to keep putting up points. I think this has potential to be one of the best games of the week, though. Next up, Packers at Cowboys. Who do you like in this matchup?
So we talked about earlier in the show, the teams that figure out how to slow down Dallas is stack the box, shut down Cooper. However, a half an hour ago, I got an update on my phone that Davante Adams is unlikely to play in this game. That's a humongous loss for the Packers. He is the go-to guy on the offense. Because of that alone, I'm going to go with the Cowboys at home.
Yeah, if Davante Adams misses this game, you have to lock the Cowboys in. I think the Packers are going to do a good job stopping this Cowboys offense from scoring. They do have the length outside to slow down Amari Cooper, especially, even if Skip Bayless says, best route runner in football, they have the length in the cornerbacks to slow him down and stop him. But if Davante Adams misses this game, we saw it at the end of the last week, whenever Davante Adams wasn't in the field, that offense was completely different throwing the ball at the goal line because you don't have the guy who scored 10 plus touchdowns the last 3 years down there to snag one for you. So for that simple fact, I like the Cowboys to win that game. Sunday Night Football, Colts at Chiefs. Wait and see. What do you like?
I'm going with the Chiefs. We talked earlier that I think they're the best team in football right now. Basically, the Colts, they can score as much as they want to, but the Chiefs are going to be able to score the ball when they have to score the ball, or when they just want to do it.
Yeah, I think I would sway on this pick more had I saw Jacoby Brissett score points when he absolutely needed to. Instead, he turns the ball over, pick six, the other way for the Raiders late in that Colts game. You have to be able to answer the bell whenever you play the Chiefs, and it's going to be a much slower style of offense on the Colts side than what the Chiefs do. Chiefs can score so quick at will. You have to go with the Chiefs. Monday Night Football. Only undefeated team in the NFC. I'll say it for about the fifth time this show, the 49ers. They will be hosting the Browns. What's the pick?
How the fuck did the Browns end up having 2 road games on Monday Night Football within 3 weeks?
I don't know. No. That was home.
They played at the Jets. That's on the road.
No, they played no, that was Sunday Night Football. Okay, they got Sunday Night Football home. So wait a second. They've already played. We're going to go into Week 5 with the Browns already having a Sunday and 2 Monday Night Football games.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, I don't know.
Team to watch, I guess, a lot of the beginning of the season, but I'm going to go with the Browns. I think, you know what, I'm just going to hope that Freddie Kitchens learned from this week that he doesn't have to throw the ball 40 times, and that the way to win the game is establish the run, then let Baker throw off rhythm and play action pass and quick passes.
Yes.
Let's hope he figured that out.
I hope he does, because I think this game could get out of handle fast in favor of the Browns, and I think the Browns will win this game. The biggest saving grace for the 49ers is that they do have a pretty good pass rush this year, and we've seen it time and time again. Baker Mayfield, hot feet, basically as soon as he touches the ball, rolls to his right. Every single time.
Yeah, can't wait to get out of that pocket.
You have to hand the ball off to Nick Chubb. If they hand the ball off to Nick Chubb more than 20 times this game, Browns win. They have to stick with it, and they have to continue to run. So, wait and see. It is time. Each week, you go out and you watch several different movies for us, and you bring one to review. So what do you have for us today?
This is something that I want to talk about for about 5 weeks or more now, but I haven't been able to because we had Hard Knocks, then it's gone last week, but it's a video game review of a game Drake likes very, very much. It is Madden 20.
Oh, it's addicting.
Remember the person that bought this game? He called me the next day and said, "Leighton, get this game. It's the best Madden game you've played in years." And it really is. My grab-up Madden game in the past have been basically that it's impossible to score against the all-Madden caliber of defense. Like, it's just not fun at that point because you know what you're doing. This Madden, it doesn't feel slick. I mean that in a good way. Like, when you move the joystick, you actually feel like you're controlling the player and that he's not sliding around all over the place. You actually feel like you have some kind of command over what's happening besides just calling the play. Then there's really, really cool thing called Madden Ultimate Team, which where you collect cards and then you put them on your team and you combine those players to make one ultimate team, and it's super addicting and insanely fun. And also fun mode called Squads, where you get your friends and they have a defense, you have an offense, and you play against other people and you make other people cry and quit the game. So Jake, what do you thoughts on Madden 20?
Madden 20 is the best Madden I've ever played in my life. The Madden Ultimate Team is absolutely awesome. Usually in years past, you couldn't make your team better no matter what you did. Just because they gave you such a bad team to start with, and all the stuff, if you didn't spend money on it, was just absolutely absurd. Now, this is another game that you can spend money on and get really good at early. But it's also a game that you can actually grind through it and make a pretty solid team. I think this is the best product we've ever seen in Madden. It seems like every little glitch that they had in the past that would make you mad, like the quarterback vision, oh, this has to be your first read, all that stuff is out the window, and it's just basically a football game, and it is absolutely so fun to play. It's not even funny. And running the ball is actually very, very realistic this year.
Yeah.
Like, in years past, you could take a guy and just basically truck over everybody and still have like 99 speed down the sidelines. Like, if you end up having to run a long period, your guy actually gets tired, and it's realistic in that fashion. Best Madden they've ever put out.
Oh, definitely. My only gripe about it would be I don't like how the menus are set up. It takes too long to get places sometimes. And also, I feel like tackling, they need to widen out the range of tackle a little bit because you just missed too many tackles you shouldn't make.
Open field tackling is so hard on that game. It's almost that's the only unrealistic thing about it.
If you're a guy with good acceleration and good agility in open space, you're probably going to score because the guy's going to overcommit to a hit stick or something. Other than that, though, great game, 2.7 dips. If football fans definitely get it, right now it's $20 off because the season started. So if you wait it out, good call on you. If not, you're a guy and you love it.
Yeah, and your Madden Ultimate Team isn't as good if you waited this long.
That's true.
So, Latency, any bold predictions for this sports week?
Both road teams will win the wild card game.
Ooh, I like that as a bold prediction. My bold prediction, we are going to get... Okay, my bold prediction. Jags-Panthers game, no matter what it's going to be, it's going to be a show of both quarterbacks that started the season on the bench. It's going to be a spotlight of them, and we will get an over 50 points scored in that Jags-Panthers game.
All right, I like it.
And on that note, for Drake, for Leighton, Dippers, as always, stay saucy.